I'm good.
Fine. What about
Good morning.
I hope everyone is doing good. Hi, good morning. Hi, Virginia.
Hi. Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
morning.
good afternoon, good evening, all the good here.
Yes,
Very
exactly.
complicated.
True.
Good evening from India.
Yeah, same here.
Hi, Ravi.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Liliana.
How are you
Hello.
doing? Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, Mommy. Can I help you? He will protect you. Well done, Mom. Superman. Superman. I Wonder Woman.
Okay, can we start? Okay, before that, a gentle reminder, can you please mute? Okay, thank you for your kind cooperation. All right. First of all, thank you for coming for our third gathering. Dear respected members, today we gather here for our third gathering for 2021. Our topic for today will be pronunciation, saying it clearly by Diane Perkins. And the second presenter will be laughter is a powerful teaching tool by Katrin Maras. All right, without further ado, I would like to explain our first presenter background. Okay, Diane Perkins is from Scotland but teaching in Singapore. She's an expert English teacher and examiner in British Council. Okay, without further ado, we would like to call upon Diane for the presentation.
Hi,
Over to you,
thank you.
Diane.
Thank you, Azura. I'm just going to share my screen if you don't mind, so that I can do my slides. And thank you to Yanti and to Azura for enabling this tonight. Right, so yes, sorry, just bear with me. My mouse has just died and I'm using my screen mice. So it's a while since I've given a presentation, so do bear with me. I was thinking about what topic would be of interest, and there are so many to choose from. I am a deep lover of all forms of delivery, so I focus on delivering to students. So my focus changes depending on the students I'm delivering to, and so we thought about saying it clearly because at the moment I have quite a few students with a recurring issue. And so even though I do a lot of engagement work beyond the classroom, a lot of that engagement work actually ends up being pronunciation. So since that's become an obvious issue, I wanted to share that with you. And I'm not going to look at all the elements of that because obviously we've got intonation, and so on. Can I just check everybody's able to hear me? I just realized I didn't check. We're okay. Thank you, Katrin. So I've sort of divided my talk into 3 different parts. What got me thinking about this particular topic, a few items around vowels and consonants, and some sources that you might find useful. I thought that might be helpful. So I'm wondering if anyone recognizes this. No? Okay, this is the dark L. And the reason I've got the dark L up here, you notice I've got this here to remind me about the story. The dark L brings me back to a situation I had myself as a language learner. A time when I was learning Russian at a university. It's quite a long time ago, so there were no computers. And after the 4th time of the teacher barking at me, "That's not it," I was kind of a little bit perturbed. I knew she was looking for a thing called the dark L. I kind of knew that's what she wanted, but there was absolutely no way I could hear it or see it in the way that she, you know, her demonstration to me. And so I remember saying to her, "So I'm really sorry, but I don't quite understand. I can't hear it. So you think you could tell me how I can create it?" And that really didn't go down too well. And so she stomped off to upset somebody else. I've since discovered that the dark L, believe it or not, is something, it's not just found in Russian. In fact, it exists in English too. And so all that tutor needed to tell me was the difference between the L for light and the difference between with the difference of able, all. And that would have, for me, that would have fixed the issue. But she wasn't aware that there was a difference, or that in English there was a difference, and also wasn't able to tell me the positioning of the tongue and other parts. And I've discovered this is a problem for many of my students. So the A, the E, the G, the K, all, these are some of the challenges that my students face, or the students that I have, from across a number of different ethnicities and from different countries and mother tongues. So what I've always found is that it's helpful. I mean, I know the traditional support. The traditional support that we have is always this business of, we've got, sorry, I'm just having to move this out the way again. You've got the current support that we have is that we have minimal pairs, like, you know, going to making so that you have the sound of ship or sheep.
This is a short vowel sound. It's pronounced. No, you.
And you have this particular, you have what I was going to show you, you have short sections, short videos of someone pronouncing a sound or a minimal pair. Now you'll notice if I show this to you a little bit more, that you get a side view.
You try. Repeat.
It's not recording the way it was. Sorry, it's not showing. So you might be lucky, and this is one of the better ones, the BBC Learning English website, or on YouTube you'll find this, where you can actually see the sounds, the words being pronounced from the front and from the side, and those are really helpful. However, it doesn't really tell you what's going on inside the mouth. And I still find that even with the minimal pairs, the short sections in the textbook, especially English file and so on, they're quite useful. And these short videos, it doesn't often do enough for the students. So this is what my students often tell me, that there are certain sounds and they kind of feel it's just out of reach. They can't quite get there. They can hear it maybe, which is one step closer, but they can't quite reach it. So I nearly always find myself doing this, drawing. I mean, I did this one, rather than do it live, I drew this earlier. So I tend to do a lot of drawing on the board to try and get students to recognize. So if you can't hear it, you might need to be able to feel it. So I often encourage students, I'll draw a picture on the board to help them. And you can see the tongue position here to get the ooh sound, ooh. And I will actually ask them to feel where their tongue is. And as they get better at this, I also ask them, when we're looking at other sounds, if I can get them to say the sound when they first hear it, I will ask them where their tongue is. I will ask them where the mouth is, where the lips are. And I do this to encourage them to get the feel of the language, because every language has it, has its own feel. And so it's important for the students to feel the sound. I believe that if people can feel the sound and they can link it to a physical contact, then it's going to make it easier for them to be actually able to pronounce that sound, especially if it's something they've had a lot of problems with. Okay, and so one of the things a friend of mine is doing currently, I just wanted to share some of her work. This is a colleague of mine. She doesn't work for the British Council, but she works for, she's a speech therapist, I suppose, a speech expert in the acting field. And so she's currently working on a series of animated drawings to explain to people where the sounds are coming from. And I would have loved to have had something like this. She isn't quite finished yet, but she's working on it. And I would have loved to have had something like this previously, so that you can visualize what is being required to get the sounds that they need. So if we're looking at the vowels in particular, there's two real things that we need to look at, is the position of the jaw, whether that's open or sort of medium or quite closed. Okay, so that's one of the things you need for vowel sounds. The next thing that you need is also the position of the lips, about whether they're rounded, or they're sort of relaxed, or whether they're long, wide. All right, so these are the things to think about. And so you can break it down for students if they can't hear, if they're having difficulty hearing the sound, or maybe they can hear the sound, but they're having difficulty producing it, particularly the difference between ah and and ah and ah. If they can actually start feeling where it is in the mouth, and they have these kind of cues to help them locate it, I believe that helps. It certainly has helped some of my students in improving their pronunciation. So this is one of my go-tos. I don't know how many. I'm sure many of you must have come across Mark Hancock before. Can I see a vote of hands, or you can put a virtual thumb up to if I can see who's seen him before. Are you familiar, Mark Hancock? All right, this guy is phenomenal. He's really into pronunciation. I mean, we often talk about pronunciation being a bit of a Cinderella in our delivery, because there's so much to teach. We've got vocabulary to do, we've got grammar to do. I love grammar. So there's so much to do. And pronunciation sometimes can get left on the side a bit. And then we have students later on, even in advanced, really having difficulties, say, with basic sounds that should have been fixed earlier on. So Mark Hancock has these fantastic books. He's been doing this for quite a while. And I've put the website address up there for you, that you can get this one for free without buying his books. Okay. And what is really cool about this is that it has all the sounds on one chart, but it's got more than that. It's really, really good at helping you identify the production, how to produce the sounds, it can help you create meaningful practice, because he's got the books that he's produced are great fun. All right, all of my students have really enjoyed it, whether that's youngish children, younger students, and also some of my more advanced, very serious individuals. It develops the confidence because they know what they're looking for, and there's a progression. So they feel quite confident about following it through, and they can hear themselves and they know what they're looking for. And as I say, it's good fun. Some of the things are quizzes and things. So let's have a look at this so that you're probably used to seeing the old IPA. And for those of you who have not used IPA before, I would encourage you to you don't have to really understand it and be able to write in it, but it's useful, I think, to help you with the sounds. And what's really lovely about this, you've got all the vowel sounds for English. Not all the varieties, let's be honest, but for general world English, this will be more than sufficient. All the way around here, you've got the short sounds, the eh, the the ah, the ah, the so, the ah, the eh. Right, so the short sounds are here around in the center. And right in the middle is the schwa. Okay, the most used vowel in English. So you could argue it's not even a vowel, it's a kind of it's an afterthought. It's a so you don't have to make much effort with this one. But this is all really beautifully, and the longer sounds are all the way around here. But it's beautifully designed, because have a look at this idea of you need to be aware of the jaw and the mouth sounds. So for example, if we're talking about relax, duck, duck, the lips are relaxed, the jaw isn't really moving, the tongue is kind of flat as well. And you can see that says relaxed. Mid and wide, if you go the other side, leg, leg, hair. You can see that the lips are quite wide and the jaw is sort of mid-open. So this is a really useful way of helping students visualize what they need to be able to do to make the sounds. And with the consonants, again, all of this information is on here in a really lovely way that is in one place that you can refer to. You can get these as A3 posters that you can have in your rooms. There's also virtual versions of this as well, obviously. And what's really nice about that, I found this really helpful. First of all, it's really helpful if you want to make up your own minimal pairs, so you can, as a starter. But the other thing that I found really helpful for my students was this talking about the stop consonants, about where the positioning was. So like the stop, the p, the b, the m. When I actually talked to my students about asking where these were made, and they said, oh, what's the lips? Oh, so, and you could actually talk to them about how much pressure, air pressure was allowed, like the p, the stop is not so hard. The b is a bit harder. The is a complete stop. So my students found this really, really helpful. And then they found the same thing with the t, the d, and the n. And I was able to ask them about what they found. Sorry, gone a bit further forward. I was able to ask them about the positioning of the tongue and the tongue, and we started having to talk about the tip of the tongue, the blade of the tongue, and making this form of learning visible is a little unusual because we tend to just do it by ear. But I have found with students that I've had consistent difficulty actually producing the sound, or they can't quite hear the eh and eh. But when I've been able to show them the sound of this and the production of it, they've been able to actually start feeling it in themselves and be able to work on it. I'm not going to say that it's going to fix the problem for them all the time, because in fast speech, that's not necessarily going to happen. But what we did find is this really helped getting the idea about what sound is produced and where it's produced, so that they were much more aware of what they could do. No, that's sort of the nuts and bolts of the activity. It's something that you spend a bit of time doing initially, getting it, and you don't do it all in one go, obviously. That would be too much for anyone. But if you are introducing bits and pieces as you go through, that's great. And because I also have the luxury of doing some, as I say, I do quite a bit of the extracurricular work. So I do some, students have 20 minutes of my time totally, and I will often have students that want to specifically work on pronunciation, and we'll spend a little bit of that time sometimes on these kind of things to really improve this skill that they don't have. What I found, the books themselves, I've actually got the books myself here. These are the ones that I've been using. And I also have his much older pronunciation games, which is great as well. But what I found is that the workouts in particular, because the students are only having to focus on a particular sound and thinking about the positioning of tongue and where it is in the mouth, or whether it's high, middle, or low. I found that the workouts were quite encouraging in terms of building their confidence. Then there were great forms of mazes, quizzes. They're like a quiz. You can actually see a maze up in the corner here. And you can do this in real life as well. I think I remember doing these a long time ago, where you have different words, and you'd have the, here you have the different words, and they're listening for a sound, and they're trying to follow the sound around the board. So say they're looking for the I sound, like as in hit, and then they find that I sound in pit, or and so they're following the maze round, and so it builds up recognition. Also, that's quite useful for spelling as well, where you have changes in spelling that give you the same sound. So those are such things. And I mentioned that I remember a very long time doing something very similar in a physical setting, where you have these words on a floor. We had them on the floor, and the students would have to jump from, they'd have to find the sound, or a sound like, so you've got the word hair, and they're looking for air. Yeah, so they have to jump to that sound. So I know that in these days we're not allowed to do that kind of thing at the moment, but hopefully we will be able to some of those games soon. But the puzzles can be done on paper, but also you've got the idea you could do it physically. Find the difference. I have to say that was a really nice game. Many of my students really enjoyed it because it was a speaking activity, and they had a picture with they each had a picture, basically the same picture, with different things in it. So you had skate and plate, and the hand and plate. I think and A, there was you had combinations of those. So it's minimal pairs, but you're not telling them what the minimal pair is. They've got to work it out by finding out what the things are different. And by working out what was different in each of the pictures, they could work out what the minimum pairs activities were. So it was building up from their own recognition, as it were, which I am a great fan of. I'm really a great fan of students finding, it's what's called guided discovery. I'm a great fan of guided discovery. So if you can engage students so that they're finding the work, it's a lot more powerful. So as we said about, there's also pair games where you hear one thing, and then and somebody has to hear it, find it, and then respond according to their lists. So these are all sort of games that you can play. And then of course you've got the dialogues with similar sounding items. So the one problem that's always when you're doing individual, just sound discrete phoneme work, one of the biggest problems is actually finding a meaningful follow-on activity, because that's what ends up happening a lot to pronunciation. It tends to be this kind of activity, that's tagged on. We've got 30 pieces of vocabulary, all 10 of them are the same sound. So it's difficult sometimes to find a meaningful practice to make it really embedded into their learning. So I have to be honest, the shopping scenario is probably the easiest, because you're more likely to be able to find a pin and a pine cone, or fork and so fork and fort, for example. You're more likely to find these items in the same shop, so you can make use of that as a way to create dialogues. And I mentioned the hopscotch for sound recognition. This is, as I said, at the moment when we're in lockdown and we can't play these games and we're only allowed to have 2 people next to each other at any one time. This is a bit of a difficult one. I don't know, does anyone know what hopscotch is? Anybody? It's a child's game. So it's a child's game where you throw a stone. Yes, please speak.
Yes, I know. It's a traditional games from Indonesia.
Ah, right. So we play it in the UK too. So instead of with pronunciation, what you do is you have words with the sound on it.
Excuse me, Diane.
Yes.
You have another 2 minutes.
That's fine. I'm nearly at the end. So hopscotch is a game you can play to get them to find sounds similar, so they can only land on the words that are similar. Okay, so that's another variation of that game that I was talking about with the words all across the room that you can scatter across. Now with plates. And so basically I wanted to share with you the resources. So these are the resources, and if you'd like to take a screen print now. So the animated phonemes, if you're interested in the work that my friend Jude is doing, that's her Instagram account, and you can find out more about her work. She's working on producing a whole prawn pack. I would have a look at Mark Hancock. If you're really keen on doing some pronunciation games, then do so. But also Mary Glasgow, I didn't show any of their work, but they have lots of materials for teachers, particularly for the younger learners. So if you're teaching primary or secondary, there's lots of materials there. And pretty much that's it, guys. So thank you very much. There's a quick rush through. Making pronunciation more visible, getting students to feel it and to see it, so and encourage them to say what they feel as well. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Diane. Thank you, Diane, for the great presentation. For your information, Q&A session will be after our second speaker. Now, let us listen to our second speaker. Before that, allow me to introduce her. Okay, she is Katrin Maras with MED, Master in Education, is a native German, but a resident of the world, having lived and taught everywhere from France to Australia. She used to teach French and physical education in one of Berlin's busy secondary schools before she moved to Australia. Being also a certified yoga teacher, she is the founder of Laughter Skills, an online business where laughter, language, and learning meet. Without further ado, let us welcome Katrin Maras. Over to you, Kat.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. And Diane, thanks so much for that information. I need it myself, like for myself, because even as an advanced learner, I still have trouble with pronunciation. And I guess that comes back to, things that didn't happen during my learning process. So the most important word for me, laugh, I always pronounce it like love. It always sounds like love, but it's laugh or laugh or something. So I still get it wrong quite often. So bear with me. I'm always talking about laughter. And please raise your hand if you have ever tried to teach a language and your students were still not able to speak it fluently. Yeah, I can raise my hand here too. When I worked as a secondary school teacher for French in Berlin, in Germany, I tried it all. I used pictures, videos, quizzes, puzzles, role plays. I even organized language exchanges and much more. And that was great for some students, but despite my efforts, there was still a large number of students who never reached the goal of fluency. And to me, as their teacher, I felt, to me, I was stressed. So that kind of made me feel bad. And I was also very stressed because as a teacher, there were so many things to do besides teaching. So I couldn't afford to spend more time on lesson planning, and I couldn't enjoy teaching anymore overall because I was kind of giving my best already. And my students liked me as a person, but they didn't enjoy learning French. To them, it was just like a chore. They had negative emotions towards the language, and they didn't feel the language. To them, the language, French, was not alive. It was not relevant to them. And all I wanted was to become a happy and relaxed teacher with successful students. I wanted them to enjoy learning French and to be able to speak. And I also wanted to enjoy being a teacher. So because I was so stressed, I was looking for all sorts of activities and things to help me reduce my stress levels. So I practiced sports, I spent a fortune on wellness, and I started doing yoga, which was great. But yoga itself, I also find it a little bit boring. So then I saw an ad for a laughter yoga leader training, and I thought, ooh, laughter yoga, that sounds fun. And that training was a 2-day training. It was quite an investment. It was far away, but I thought, well, I have nothing to lose, and it will surely be a fun weekend. So I ended up booking the training. I went there, and the whole thing was such an uplifting experience. It was weird at first to do the laughter exercises, but it made me feel really good. So after that training, I decided to continue with laughter yoga. And when on my way, while I became an expert in the field of laughter yoga, I learned about its numerous health benefits, such as stress reduction and pain relief. And I realized one thing: laughter training or laughter yoga, whatever you want to call it, laughter exercise, is not only good for my own health, but it can also boost my students' learning performance. And how? Well, laughter training is all about breathing. When we laugh, ha, 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 we automatically practice elongated exhalation, which leads to an increase of oxygen in our body and brain. And our brain needs 25% more oxygen than the rest of our body to function well. So when we laugh, we flood our brain with oxygen, which leads also to better learning because we are more focused, we can concentrate better, we have more motivation, we are awake. And I wanted my students to be awake. So that was my first breakthrough, because I reached that goal of having my students being awake by including 30-second laughter breaks in my lessons. And it got even better, but before I tell you the rest of the story, I want you all to experience with me a 30-second laughter break. There's nothing that you can do wrong. I explain it. The exercise is very simple. We take a deep breath in through our nose, and on the exhale, we laugh, and we try to keep the laughter for 30 seconds. Of course, you can breathe in between. And I have a stopwatch here so that I can time our 30-second laughter break. There are no jokes. There's no comedy involved. It is a body-mind exercise. So you can't get it wrong. And if you don't have any background noises going on, I invite you to unmute yourselves, because I would love to hear all of you laughing. So please unmute yourselves. Get ready. And if you have background noises, well, then stay muted so that we can all hear everyone laughing. Let's start. Smile. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And on the exhale, just laugh.
Oh my God.
Breathe out through your nose. And breathe in through your nose again. And out through your nose. How do you feel? Do you feel awake? Do you feel good? I saw a lot of smiling faces. I heard some laughter. And that happened to my students too. I noticed that they started to have, now I can hear something. Oh, okay, great, awesome. So that happened to my students too. I noticed that they actually started to have fun, to have emotions and positive emotions during my French class. Imagine that. So that's when I decided to start using laughter training even more as a teaching tool. And I categorized my exercises. I created a whole system. And my first category of exercises is the content-independent laughter exercise, such as the 30-second laughter break. So there's no content. It's just a laughter exercise for itself without any story or whatever going on. And there are lots of other laughter exercises like that. And as I mentioned before, my students were having emotions, positive emotions during my class. And as a teacher, I know that emotions lead to learning. So emotions make a language alive, and emotions, especially positive emotions, keep us going. And what's the easiest way to trigger positive emotions? A smile, obviously, a laugh, laughter. And that's also, by the way, why smiling teachers are likely to be more successful, because they trigger a positive emotional response in their students. But being friendly and smiley is often not enough, especially not in a class of 30 students. So we need something that is scalable, it involves the learner, and we need a reliable tool. And that's why I decided to modify laughter training, laughter yoga exercises, and to use them as a teaching tool. And that is only possible because laughter exercise does not rely on comedy or humor. And it is based on the scientific fact that our body cannot tell the difference between a real and a simulated laughter. So our body does not know the difference between real and fake. So we can trick our body by simulating the laughter. And that makes it a tool that can be used in any situation, in any learning situation with anyone. Laughter training triggers a strong emotional and physical response. When we laugh, our body releases a dose of feel-good hormones. Laughter reduces stress and anxiety. And my students, for example, are not afraid anymore of making mistakes. And they actually experience some sort of meditation doing some of the laughter exercises. And in class, they are at ease and they dare to speak. Performance anxiety is a big problem for many learners. In a traditional language class, every time we ask our students to speak out loud, we put them in a perceived test situation. They constantly feel tested and evaluated by us as teachers and even by their colleagues, by the other students. And laughter helps us to create a safe learning environment. And it sets our students up for learning. It puts them into a state of receptivity, which helps them to take in the content on a deeper level. They remember the content of the lesson because they remember how the laughter exercise made them feel, even if the laughter exercise itself is just a part of the lesson. And also a nice side effect of laughter exercise is that it enhances relationships. And I'm not only talking about the teacher-student relationship, but also about the relationships within a group. Students enjoy being part of a group where everybody is laughing with each other and not about each other. So the feel-good hormones, the reduction of stress and anxiety, the enhancement of relationships are just a few positive effects, both physical and emotional, that laughter has on the learning process of students. And maybe the most important benefit is that they can concentrate better thanks to the higher oxygen intake in our body that I have already mentioned before. And groups who have trouble staying concentrated, for example with grammar, they can just take a 20 or 30-second laughter break, timed, and get their brains back on track. Have a little break, basically. And now you might wonder, well, if it's so easy, why isn't anyone doing it? And I think it's because most teachers don't know about laughter training. And even if they know about laughter yoga or laughter training, they don't really know how to integrate that in their lessons. And also in our academic world, everything has to be complicated. So to laugh for no reason may, at first glance, appear stupid. And no teacher or student wants to look stupid. But the knowledge about the benefits of laughter and the massive effects on the learning process could actually, in my opinion, revolutionize teaching. And for me, I'm a language teacher. I teach German and French, but it could also be applied to any other subject. Laughter training is easy. It's cheap. It doesn't need any specific setup. So it can basically be integrated in any classroom situation, online and offline. And it works with a small group, with one person, with a big group. I've done laughter sessions with 50 plus people and it works quite well too. And I can see, do we still have, I think we have only little time left. So I would like to practice with you one more laughter exercise, and that one is from the second category of exercises that I use during my classes. So we had the content independent exercises, but there are also content related exercises. And this one here is very short and easy. It's only one word, and you will practice with me now the word shit in French. So I do have a little cheat sheet here. And I also invite you to unmute yourselves again. So our word in French for shit is merde. Merde.
Marde.
Little pronunciation help here. And now we put this word into a little situation. And the goal here is to connect a negative situation with positive emotions. So this helps us to rewire our brain and hopefully also to remember the word afterwards. And I demonstrate the exercise first, and then we are going to do it together. So imagine that you're writing something, doing a test or in school, at school, and when you write, you take a deep breath in through your nose, and then you're doing a mistake, and you just say, merde. 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 So I usually do it 3 times, the word, and I also lead the exercise in French directly because it's so easy. I'm gonna do that now too, but you already know what it is, so you will understand. And I invite you all to do it with me. Okay, so get ready, start writing. Inspirez, écrivez, et vous faites une erreur. Merde! 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 And now breathe in through your nose and breathe out.
All right.
And breathe in and breathe out. Thank you so much for laughing with me today. That was just a very quick taster, but I could hear a lot of people laughing. And if you want to know more, you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. I also post videos sometimes. I love to see your likes. Feel also free to send me a message with your email. I do have an email list. I don't have a spammy newsletter, but every now and then I send out emails with updates if there's something new to download or something interesting to see. And yeah, thank you so much, and choose to laugh, because laughter is a choice.
All right. Thank you, Kat, for the awesome laughter skills. Thank you very much. Now, we don't have much time left. I will open this for Q&A session. Anyone who would like to ask the first or second presenter may do so. Open to the floor. Any question?
Excuse me.
Yes. Introduce
This
yourself,
is Komal
please.
Ali.
All right.
This is Komal Ali from Pakistan. I need to ask you something that I'm teaching 18 to 25 years student, like in a college. So they're very much shy how to speak in English, though they're coming from very well-off families. They have a kind of exposure. So I have a question from Ma'am Diana. Like, what can be the strategy to make them understand that it's not something really ridiculous or something, that cannot be accepted by the people? So is it something, the skill or any technique that I should
Okay,
adopt?
right. So if you're looking for ways to encourage recalcitrant students to speak, one of the things that it may seem strange is a little bit of role playing. You can go the whole hog and ask and students can create their own personality for speaking, so that when they're talking, it's not them that's speaking, but it's another person altogether. I used to have, I came across this when a very long time ago. I had a student who insisted that she was Queen Katarina of the Netherlands or something like that. It worked for her, so that she would be these characters. So that's one way of doing it, is that everybody, if you have a group of students that are like that they can all have a classroom persona, so that they can speak as that person. You don't have to go the full hog though. In a role play situation, if you've got a variety of people speaking, you can give cards, character cards to each of the people in the group, and they have to respond in that person. I don't know if that helps.
Okay.
And there might be other ideas out there as well.
So when I have to deal with shy students like that, and I introduce them to laughter training, for example, I do that with adults, by the way, as well. So it's not only something for kids. And I convince them with the facts. So basically, I show them that laughter training or laughter exercise is not something stupid. So I find a nice statistic or something that's very serious, basically, to back up that what we are doing here is not stupid. And then once they do the laughter a little, they feel so much more at ease in the class and in the classroom, and there's a whole group atmosphere that comes out of it. I call it the magic is happening. Because that's basically what takes place, and that also helps them then to try speaking.
Thank you so much.
Okay, any more questions? We have another 5 minutes left before we end our session for today. Any more questions? Anyone would like to ask questions?
I actually have a question for Katrin. Katrin, when you're working with teenagers, because I guess you were in secondary school.
Yes.
What did you use it at the beginning of the class, in the middle of the class, or did students get the chance to say, "Oh, we need a," or did you do it when there was a sort of a lull and you felt it? And how did you identify when?
Well, first of all, teenagers are the hardest one to get into the laughter training. So I basically try always with them first not too ridiculous exercises, and when I have I know my students, and some of them sometimes when they start to really think about things and to get stuck, they sit like this and they squeeze their face, and when I see something like that, then I just decide, well, it's time for a laughter break. But what I also do per se is to start the lesson with a 30-second laughter break to set everyone up in the right mood. So at the beginning of the lesson, that's kind of compulsory. And then during the lesson, it's more of a feeling thing. And I mean, it could also come from the students. Sometimes I'm working one-on-one with people, and they request it. They are like, "Oh, woof, getting tired. Can we do a little laughter breathing thing?" So
Thank you.
But the compulsory one at the beginning of the session is really powerful. Like that's really that's a really good one. During during workshops and things like that, not that much language related. I just had a 2-day workshop last Monday that I was facilitating, and I did the same thing. Every time when we started a new segment of the workshop, I started off with a laughter, 30-second laughter booster.
All right, thank you. Okay, we can have another one more question before we end our gathering today. Anyone would like to ask one more question? One more chance for the questions, anybody?
Yes, from Meli,
All right.
Indonesia.
Okay, go on.
I'm doing postgraduate study now, and I am researching about pronunciation. But I got a little difficulties in finding the theories of English pronunciation. If it is possible, maybe can I get the, Miss Diane Instagram or maybe email so that I can ask you about some theories of English pronunciation. Thank you. That will be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Mel, what I would also suggest is have a look on, I was really impressed these days, you can go on to Wikipedia and you can find a lot of starter information there. So that, and you're probably going into more detail than I do. Okay, so I would look there as your starter, and at the bottom of each of those segments, there is a whole list of materials that they reference materials. So I would use them as your starter.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. We have another 3 minutes. I can have another one more question. Anybody? We will stop at 9.
Good evening
right.
from Nepal. I have one
Yes.
question. Can you please share your YouTube video of laughter training? I'm so impressed with your training. Like training, your face is so glowing. Anytime you are laughing, I'm so impressed with your training. So I want to follow you. Please, if you can share your email or YouTube, whatever you have, I will definitely follow you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So my Instagram is my name, Katrin.Maras. So you just type my name into Instagram and then you should find it very easily. And my company is called Laughter Skills. So I do have a YouTube, which is not very up to date. But I also have a website where you can't find the videos, but the videos are on Instagram, and they are also, my Facebook is also Laughter Skills. It's Laughter Skills by Katrin Maras or something like that. And so if you type my name, you should be able to find all, all of them.
All right, thank you. So we come to an end for our session today. Thank you again to Diane and Kat for the great and awesome presentation. So this is some information for you all. We will have our monthly gathering next month, 24th of July. The Zoom link will be sent to your respective emails and the topic will be shared later. Stay tuned. All right. So, okay, the founder, Auntie, would you like to say something?
Thank you very much, Azura. I just would like to say thank you very much, everybody, for joining our gathering today. And then we are moving forward that we are trying to be on time. And then we try to make everything totally 1 hour. So I really respect everybody's time. So hopefully we can see you again next month, right? With, I think, from Mexico and Kenya, if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Brazil will be the moderator. All right. Okay, one more information before we leave. Certificate will be sent to your respective emails too. Thank you for joining today. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan,
Thank you.
Katrin.
Bye.
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 Thank you, Katrin.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you.
Good night here.
Have a nice day.